Okay, so then let's talk about the woman. The banquet has begun. Jesus is reclined at the table. They didn't sit at tables with their feet under the table. They kind of leaned on a cushion and leaned in toward the table so that their feet were, if you could picture his feet going away from the table. And so the woman, what's unusual about this uninvited guest?
Yes. So Jesus is reclining at the table with all of these other Pharisees. And typically what would happen in a scene like this is a very common scene in Jesus's day. A Pharisee or a scribe, a teacher of the law, would host a dinner. He would invite other teachers of the law, other rabbis, scribes, and they would enjoy a meal together, reclining around the table, and they would discuss and debate matters of the law. Now, the people who, by and large, did not have access to the law, apart from these teachers, because over 90% of the people in Jesus's day were illiterate, and obtaining a scroll, so having an actual scroll of any part of the law in your home, you would have to be very wealthy. So this is one of the ways that people were taught, is they would come to these dinners, not as a guest. They were just merely allowed to kind of hang around the outside of the courtyard and listen in as these rabbis discussed and debated. So what we have to understand is, at this dinner, there are probably, because Jesus is very widely known by now, there are probably hundreds of people surrounding Simon's courtyard, trying to listen in to the discussion between Jesus and all of these Pharisees and religious leaders.
Oh, that just paints a whole different scene in my mind. I did not picture hundreds. I did not picture purposeful listening in. I mean, I knew, I pictured nosy neighbors. I did not picture those, those who would crave this, to be in this audience as this amazing conversation was taking place. So thank you. That's so interesting.
So presumably this woman is one of the people in the audience, right? And she's an unknown woman. No one even knows her name. She's a sinner. So what's very interesting to me is Simon doesn't know anything about her other than the fact that she is, quote unquote, that sort of woman. So somehow Simon is on to the fact that this woman, most scholars think she probably was a prostitute.
He's able to identify something about her that would put her in this category as that sort, right?
Correct. Yes. Well, as Jesus is reclining at the table, this woman has watched Jesus be utterly disregarded and humiliated. She has witnessed how Simon has treated him. And I think about this woman in her culture and how she is perpetually disregarded and humiliated as, quote unquote, that sort of woman. And in this scene, something within her compels her to rush to the feet of Jesus and right this very cultural wrong that has been issued upon Jesus by Simon. And she falls at Jesus's feet and she begins to wash Jesus's feet with her tears. Something Simon failed to give Jesus water. She's rectifying this situation that has just happened. And she is just extravagantly honoring Jesus, but she's doing it in an incredibly unconventional way, because her, as a sinful woman, touching Jesus's feet, now technically, according to the law, renders Jesus unclean. Right. And so this is a costly display of affection, because Jesus will have to undergo certain rituals outside of the temple that will cost him money and time in order to make himself clean again. And yet Jesus doesn't seem to be bothered at all by what this woman is doing. But let me just put this in a modern day example so we could kind of grasp the tension of it. Let's imagine that you and we got invited by Oprah to go sit and be in the audience at her show. Okay. I'm not like a super huge Oprah fan personally, but there would be a cool experience,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So we're sitting in the audience, Shannon, and all of a sudden, as Oprah opens up her show, she has this panel of experts on there talking about whatever. And she opens her show, and not even 5 minutes into the show, suddenly a woman from the audience rushes up on the stage, falls at Oprah's feet as she's sitting in her orange chair, and just begins weeping uncontrollably over Oprah's feet, right? What are you and I and everybody else watching this scene thinking in this moment? What in the world?
Right. There's a bit of tension. Like, what are we all, what's going to happen? You know, I mean, we're going to assume somebody's going to take care of this. This is not just going to go on, right?
Yeah, this is not okay.
No, this is not okay.
No. What is Oprah going to do? Like, how is Oprah going to react? We're waiting for somebody somewhere to come escort this woman off the stage, but yet Oprah just goes right on with the show like nothing is happening. Right? And all the panel of experts sitting with Oprah are like, do we look at Oprah? Do we look at the camera? Do we look at this woman? Like, everybody's feeling like this is super awkward. Would someone just take care of this tension? But Oprah doesn't say anything. And that's kind of what Jesus does here. It's like he's just letting this woman continue to sob at his feet, and he's not saying anything.
Yeah. And I just can feel the tension in that room. I love the way you painted that scene. But I just still feel like I want to know more about why this woman is crying. So Kenneth Bailey, I love Kenneth Bailey too. And he kind of presumes that she's crying this hard. I mean, this is a lot of tears. If it's enough to wash Jesus's dusty feet, like, this is not just a little sniffle, a tear down her cheek. No, she is wailing. She's making an absolute scene, but this is real emotion. This isn't just, I mean, you can't force tears just to make a scene. You know, these are real tears that she's feeling. And Kenneth Bailey suggests that this is her outrage at the way Jesus has been treated at the inhospitality. Is that how you see it? Or is there something about her? Like, is she crying over her sin, or is she crying over the sin committed against Jesus? Do you have an opinion?
Yeah, that's such a great question. You know what? I think it's probably a little bit of both.
Sure.
I think maybe the initial reaction was, I cannot believe that Jesus is being treated like this. We don't have any backstory between the woman and Jesus. We don't know what she knew of him, what her previous experience had been with him. But we know that she witnessed a very cultural wrong being done to Jesus, him being utterly humiliated, and how often in her own life she had been utterly humiliated and knew exactly the pain of that.